Hey everybody, this is going to be a tutorial about how to use the input box in Tyranobuilder. I've been trying to do this for a few days, and I went through like the online Tyranobuilder thing, and I found this other tutorial, and I kept running into some problems and some bugs. So after it got worked out, Clyde helped me. After it got worked out, I thought I could make a video to kind of share how I did it. I saw other people online asking the same questions as the problems I was having, so I thought it would be nice to have like a video that kind of went straight through it. So basically the input box is just going to be a place that you can enter in information. A lot of people use it for names, like if you ask another character what their name is, then you can use that name after that. You can use it in the name bar, or you can use it in the text. I'm using it in order to answer questions in a quiz setting, which is a little bit more tedious because, as you can see, there can be a lot of answers. You know, they can write the answers a little bit differently because it's a joke battle. So, you know, I'll show you an example of what I am talking about. So, in this case, it takes me a minute to get to the question. What do you call a snake that is 3.14 meters long? So I can write Python in a multitude of ways. If I write it just the regular way, it'll put in, see what I said, and it'll say that's right. If I put it in a different way, because it's a pun, like let's say I say Python, because, you know, it's based off of that, then it'll still say it's right because I programmed in a bunch of different, I entered in a bunch of different answers it could be. But if I get it wrong, if I say anything other than the ones that I told it to say, it will still feed back the answer. Let's say I say a turtle. It'll say a turtle. That doesn't sound right. So I'm going to show you how to do all that. And so for this one, we're answering what is a snake's favorite dance. So each input box is connected to a variable. So the first thing you have to do is make a variable. So in this case, the variable name, the answer is Mamba. So I'm going to add that variable, and I'm going to make the variable initial value Mamba. So one of the things that I was doing wrong originally is I was leaving the initial value blank. And that's one of the things I was having trouble with. Clyde was telling me, since it's a string, I need to put in, like, if, let's say you're asking somebody's name, you don't have a reference to start with, you know, you're going to leave it blank, but just enter in the word blank as your initial value in order to set it up as a string. So I am naming this Mamba. So I have a variable, and now I'm going to add in my, and this is sort of like everything else, where you kind of put everything in together and then you go back and do all the stuff to it, which I know is a little bit kind of confusing. So this is sort of the order you're always going to do for an input box. So you know, we'll just go through it. Input box, an image button, that's going to be what you click. It's sort of your jump. And then you're going to always have the stop. And you're going to have the label of where your image button is going to bring you. And then you're going to commit the input of whatever it is that you have entered. If you don't commit it, it's not going to read it back to you. You're going to put in a page break in order to get rid of the input box off the screen. And then after that is where you're going to put your jumps and your labels. So we'll go back up and work with this first before we start with that part. Save it. So our input box, our variable is Mamba. So if you don't do anything to your input box, it's gonna look like this, like a white rectangle. So there's a bunch of people who have code on the internet that lets you be able to change what the box looks like. So I found some of that. I can link where I found that. But basically you can change the size and the shape of the box like a little bit here on this panel. But I wanted to change the color too. So originally I was going to make like a text box. So I'm using this color, and I got the HTML notation from here, and that's what I added into the CSS. So if you go into your Steam library, Steam apps, your Tyranobuilder project, and then you go into the project itself, you'll get this. And down here you'll see your CSS sheet. And then you can open up your CSS sheet and you can go to the very bottom. And I just put this in because this is what I copied and pasted, but really what I'm just using is this background color. I added in the background color I wanted. And there's some other things here that will have an effect on it, but you can play with that if you want to. So it's not going to look like that, even though I have it all set up to do that. It's not going to look like that while I'm placing the box. It's only going to look like that while it's playing the game, which is kind of weird. And I find it kind of irritating to have to put the box places, so I just made a list of where I want it, and I just type that in to the right hand side every time. So that way I just have sort of a reference for it. So I'll save that. The image button, again, is going to be like your jump button to bring you to the label. Just entering input doesn't actually do anything, so you have to have something to click to bring you to the label. So I made one. It comes with like some things, but I just made one. So my target is going to be, oh, we gotta name this label. So this is going to be Mamba Start. Okay. So I'm going to set it to Mamba Start. And again, you can move this around with the positioning thing like you can do the other thing. But see, you can't see the input box when you're doing that. I find it really irritating. So again, I just wrote down where I like it, and I just enter that in. So that way I don't have to deal with it. Okay. So that's going to bring us to this label. It's going to commit the input. We got rid of the page break, and so now we're going to start putting in our answer jumps. So there's really only two ways you can say this. I mean, I guess you can say a Mamba. Well, you wouldn't say a Mamba in this case. So I'm going to have a jump in case they do it lowercase, a jump in case they do it uppercase, a jump for if they say it wrong, and then we'll stop. And then we'll have a label for if they say it correctly and a label for if they say it incorrectly. Mamba right, Mamba wrong. So like in this case for Python, they could have said Python right. Oh, I guess you can't see it. They could have said Python the way it's supposed to be spelled, or with the capital. They could have said it like the pun, or they could have said it the way it's supposed to be spelled, like with the hyphen pun. So I made a bunch of those. So in this case, so it's going to go to Mamba right if the condition is true for the variable Mamba, and the value is going to be Mamba. Okay, if what they type in equals Mamba, then it will go to Mamba right label. Same thing here. If the condition is true, the Mamba variable. I hope it's not confusing. I'm using the same variable name as I could have named this variable anything, but you do have to reference the variable that you named at the very beginning. that you have connected this input box to, just to be clear. Because one of the things that was confusing me when I was watching the tutorials is people were naming the input something and then using that, and anyway, I'll show you where I was going wrong. So in this case, if they say it capitalized, if they type it capitalized, because we got some capital people here, and then this will go to Mambo wrong if, in the case of this variable, if they don't do anything, and we're going to have this instead of equals. Okay, we're going to save it. So now we're not going to know if this works until we put something in these labels. So let's go ahead, and something else you got to remember is if you don't say show and remove text in between the Tyrannoscript box, it won't show up. I ran into that problem too. Come on, come on. Oh, you're so annoying. It's not the best system in the world. So you're going to use Tyrannoscript in order to write down what they say instead of the text box when you are doing input. So he is going to say, and this is how you reference the thing that just got typed in. So you are going to reference it by saying EMB equals F, and then your variable name, again, that you referenced when you made the input box. So one of the problems I was running into is that the one I was watching used the word name as their variable, and then they put name here, but they didn't say they used the word name because it was a variable. And so I was using the variable input, but I was still putting name here because I thought it was part of the code, just like EMB, right? So I kept getting a error. So make sure that after the F, it is the name of your variable. So they're going to say that's exactly right. And then since we are on the Tyrannoscript line, you have to say that you want a new line after this, or else it'll just put everything on the same line even if you hit return. So you're not so bad yourself, because we just said that they were amazing. Okay, so in this case, after they get it right, we have to go to what happens after this. We don't want to go through the if they got it wrong because they got it right, so you have to build a jump for it to go to, so you don't go into the next label. So we're going to say last joke, and we will build a jump to there. Okay, so if we got it wrong, he's going to say EMB EXP equals F Mamba. Not, nope. It's Mamba, like they do in Dirty Dancing. I don't know if they really do this in Dirty Dancing. I'm assuming. Okay. So let's see if it worked. What's a snake's favorite? Oh. Okay, I gotta fix this. It didn't go to the right spot. Mamba. That's exactly right. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? It is exactly right. And now we're gonna say What's the snake's favorite dance? Why is that not the right size? Oh man. The waltz. Nope. Alright. So one more thing. If you want it to go into the what do you call that thing up here? The bar where it has their name. Like, let's say I'm like, what's your name? Then that code for that would be, instead of that, you would say, where's the number sign? I don't know if this is going to work in this case, but we'll try it. So let's say you wanted to say what's your name, and then it's just in the title bar up there. So let's see if it works. Oh man, it's gonna irritate me. Did I get that thing wrong? 183, 82, 271. That's where we went wrong. All right. Oh crap. That's not what we went to do. Got a little excited about our question mark being the right size. Let's see. What's the snake favorite dance? Fish. So this part didn't work. I hadn't tried that yet. Number sign, that's why. I hadn't tried this yet because that's not what I'm trying to do. So I was just trying to get a reference of what it is, but I don't really know if that's going to work. So let's try it one more time and then we'll give up. And you're on your own on that one. If it doesn't. Oh yeah, so it showed up here. So you have to do the thing that references that it's a name bar. But we are not doing that. So that is how you do it. And since I'm doing a quiz, I can keep a scorecard. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll do a tutorial about how you do a score. So hopefully that was somewhat clear on how you can use an input box.